Good evening and welcome back. I'm back again to talk to you guys about just to get on here and just welcome you to Casting the Net once again. I care about your mental health and well being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, here to talk to you, your professional certified life coach and mental health counselor. I just want to welcome my special guest, Dr. Jodi Aman. She's a psychotherapist, author, speaker. She's a doctor in social work with over 28 years of experience in clinical practice. She has a talk show, matter of fact, tonight. So subscribe to her channel. It's called Ask Dr. Jodi. It's a live stream. She live stream weekly on the YouTube channel where she shares mental health and relationship advice. And today on the show, we're going to talk about a topic that I really actually love dialoguing about, and that is attachment styles and as it pertains to strengthening relationships. So, Dr. Jodi, can you tell the audience where you're from and what inspired you to choose a career in psychotherapy?
Well, like many healers, I had my own, chaos, anxiety, loneliness when I was a teenager. And I noticed when I was volunteering or participating in something that helped others or raised money or something, I actually volunteered at a latchkey call-in center. So I would go after school as a high schooler and I'd get calls from kids who came home and they felt a little lonely after school. And so I had that experience, and those kind of experiences took me out of my own head and the negativity that was in there, my own experience, my own, sense of victimhood, and really brought me to, understanding people, understanding the world, understanding problems, and wanting to help. I never look back. I went right through school to be a social worker, and I've been doing it for 28 years now. And I never look back. I'm so happy with what I do because it's a sacred place to just be with people during these very, very precious moments of transformation. But you asked me where I'm from. I'm from Rochester, New York. Born and raised, so I still live
Nice.
here. And cold.
Yeah, I'm sure it's cold out there, right? So when it comes to attachment styles, can you explain to the audience what they are and why is it crucial to know what they are as it relates to relationships?
Okay, so these are just terms, right? These are just ways that we term something that we see that's like it has common characteristics, and we put a term on it. That doesn't mean it is a truth about somebody, or I often terms become labels for people, and I'm very careful not to label people because they're people with these kind of behaviors, but they're not like avoidance. Like we don't want to give them the identity of these attachment issues. So there's four attachment issues that have been identified that most people identify. Two are pretty similar. One is fearful attachment, and then anxious attachment, or fearful or disorganized attachment. So obviously there's even different words here. People are noticing stuff, they're putting meaning around it. And so I'm going to explain them. There's four, typically four. I would say three or four because those two have so much overlap to them. But the first one is secure attachment. So that's when we have security in our relationships. We feel comfortable expressing what our needs are. We feel comfortable and safe with the other person. We don't feel like they're going to leave us. We're not so worried and feel so vulnerable. Actually, we're okay being vulnerable in that relationship. We don't feel like it's in danger. That's a secure attachment. The next one is anxious attachment. That means you're very afraid, nervous all the time that the person's going to abandon you or reject you. And quite often you're asking questions and asking for confirmation or reassurance that they're not going to. So that's anxious attachment. You want constant feedback that they like you or they feel like you're worthy or they want to stay with you. And quite often it could lead to like intrusive thoughts. Really worry when the other person didn't do anything, you start to think, oh, they're mad at me today, and I they're gonna break up with me. I better find out what's going on. And the other person has no idea, and they can feel quite accused in those kind of situations. The next one is fearful attachment, or also called disorganized. And that's kind of when you're kind of going back and forth a little bit. Still same worries as anxious attachment. You're worried about the other person leaving you, but sometimes you pull away because you're worried. Sometimes you need reassurance when you're worried. So it's kind of, you do both. The fourth one is called avoidant attachment, also called dismissive avoidant, because when you feel too close to somebody and you're uncomfortable with that, you withdraw from that relationship. So anytime you get close to someone, you break up with them. You're not, used to be called like commitment issues. I did a whole show on avoidant attachment and talked to some people in real time about their experiences, because it's really interesting and so many of us could really relate. So you have secure, you have anxious attachment, that you're always really worried. Then you have the dismissive, avoidant. That means you pull away when you're afraid of being close. And then the fearful and disorganized is like going back and forth between the anxious and the dismissive. So those are the four, just so you know. And the reason why we need to know, it's like validation. It's like when we have those experiences in a relationship and then someone can name them and describe them, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. And also, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy.
Right.
So that feels really, really good.
And I like how you said not to label, because it's really just a behavior, a behavioral um, thing that you're doing. It's really you're showing up in a certain way. That's not who you are. It's how you behaving within the
And
context of the relationship.
exactly, exactly. And sometimes you could behave like that in one relationship and not any other relationships. You could be anxious attachment with somebody and be completely secure in every other relationship. And most likely it's because the person you're in a relationship with gives you some kind of reason to be insecure with them,
Right.
right? They might not be there for you, or they might have cheated on you in the past. And so it really comes out of the context of the relationship. It's not only just a problem with you. Sometimes you've had several relationships and you've been anxious attached in several of them, but most of the time my clients are like this in one relationship and not in others. Dismissive avoidant, usually you're like that in all relationships, but you can change. People change.
And that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, because you can move from, you know, dismissive to secure if you
You
do the
could,
work.
if you do the work,
If
if
you do
you
the work.
decide and you choose and you do the
Hmm.
work. Yeah. And disorganized, obviously it's back and forth. So you could be in any of the three, right? You could be
Right.
secure, or you could be anxious, or you could be dismissive. That's why it's called disorganized, because it's like fear just has you like knee jerk respond, and it could be one way or the other. And that's most common, I would say, because people are in general inconsistent. Humans are inconsistent. When we're afraid, we go left sometimes and go right sometimes.
And it's good to know too, because you can actually work on your relationship and talk about and dialogue about how can I be secure
Yeah.
in this
And it
relationship.
takes two. It
It
takes
takes
two to
two, right?
tango. Yeah. So if you were the one that was anxious attachment, so you were just really worried all the time and very insecure, most of my clients have this experience and they need to talk it out with somebody, or they have trouble. The other person's trying to break up with them, and they're not getting the message. They're holding on. Sometimes that happens. And so really you might need someone to help you, because you're so attached and so fearful of anything changing or losing that relationship, that you do anything, including stay suffering for a really long time.
Right. How do you what advice do you give when you see these styles? Like, how do they navigate? Because when you think about the anxious one, they're it's overwhelming. It's like they're almost clingy.
And they're not happy. This is not a very comfortable place to be in relationships. So
Mm-hmm.
they're really struggling. And so I love helping them. Really, it's like inviting them to witness themselves from a bit of a distance. They're so close to that attachment, like keep this person no matter what. You know, do whatever you can to keep them, because th- we can't lose them. But quite often, if the breakup actually happens, they're so much happier. but they're terrified thinking that they would fall off some insanity cliff and never come back.
Right.
But they're so much better because this feels so out of control. And the more out of control they feel, the more attached they feel, like I can't lose it. I have to keep him no matter what. I have to please, him, her, them, and no matter what, And so that is not a very comfortable place to be. It feels very out of control. So we try to grab more. And when they end up out of those relationships like that, a context of that kind of relationship, their anxiety goes down
Yes.
and they
Because
have a
it
new
wasn't as
relationship, and the other
catastrophic as they
person
thought,
is
right?
so kind and present and loves them, and and is there for them, and they don't have that behavior anymore sometimes.
And when you're dealing with attachment styles, which ones do you see the most that pops up the most?
I would say somebody who has anxious attachment behaviors probably come to therapy the most. Someone who's got dismissive avoidant, they don't go to therapy. They don't
That
want
is so
to.
true.
And so fearful, like that's half and half, really. Secure people there's a lot of people in secure relationships that go to therapy. So I do see those people, but avoidant attachment, I think, because you're so nervous and you need reassurance, sometimes you go outside the relationship to try to get some reassurance or coaching on how to move forward. So those are the ones that probably present themselves most in my office.
Right. And
Lovely, beautiful, kind-hearted people. And they've
right.
had really hard times in the past,
Mhm.
In this relationship and maybe in others, they've just experienced a lot of loss or trauma, and so they're working through all that. And they can get better.
That is so true. What what advice would you give someone to have the ability to identify their own attachment styles?
I think I would caution people not to, assume that they're one and it's universal all the time. I remind them that you could act some ways in some relationships and even just sometimes in some relationships and be secure or something else the other times. So when they're witnessing themselves, not to just be like, not to label themselves that, because when you're labeled, like there's no, it's like limited, but you can't make any changes to that identity. It like becomes our identity, and we don't want to do that. So you're inviting them to have some awareness of what they might do and when they get nervous and why they might get nervous. If they're anxious attachment, we look at the context of that relationship. Like, what is the other person doing? Because they're beating themselves up. They know they're anxious. They know they need reassurance. They also feel bad because their partner is like, enough already. Their partner is not reacting or reacting very defensively, which doesn't necessarily help, right? So, you have a reason to be insecure, right? This person cheated on you twice and broke up with you twice in the last 3 years.
Right.
Like,
There's nothing
like
wrong with you.
there's
You
like,
have a reason.
yeah, and because their partner is saying you're overreacting, you always say this. You have to get help for yourself, But they've just cheated twice. Like I don't know what you expect.
Right.
I also tell them that I've walked so many people through these processes that I've seen them go from a relationship that's like this and into another relationship that's good, and they don't have that problem at all. Like it's completely cleared, and I think that's a relief for people that it's like it's not me. It's the context
Right.
of the relationship, and I think that's the best advice I could give, or
Yeah, yeah.
suggestions or
That's good. That's
invitations.
very good advice. Absolutely. And so tell us about your podcast. Is it a
Yes.
podcast or a YouTube channel? It's just
Yeah, it's a YouTube channel. So my YouTube is at Dr. Jodi, at DoctorJodi. And my show's called Ask Dr. Jodi. So I go live every Monday at 8 p.m. Sometimes my daughter's on. Sometimes I've calling guests, and the calling guests are talking about the issue that it's the topic of the show. And I do live coaching, live counseling right there on the show. Live coaching, really. It's not, they're not in like crisis. So, and so I think it's interesting. I just started this format, and so the podcast is Ask Dr. Jodi, and it's kind of a new podcast. I only have a few episodes out this week, and my last podcast was called Anxiety, I'm So Done With You. It went to my book. So it
Oh,
was really focused
nice.
focused more on teenagers and Generation Z. It's so this is like a teen's guide to ditching toxic stress and hardwiring your brain for happiness, because young people have so much anxiety. And so the my previous podcast is Anxiety, I'm So Done With You. It goes with the book. So
So now you
so
have a
this Ask
book.
Dr. Jody's brand new. I'm so
is,
excited about it.
is that your only book or you have more?
I do have several books. I have an adult book called You Won Anxiety Zero. So if you're struggling with anxiety at all, come on over to my website, jodiaman.com/books. You could find those. And I have a workbook and coloring book and that kind of stuff. So
Oh,
a
nice.
little bit of fun stuff there. I also have a free download book. It's a Generation Z mental health survival guide. So it's
Oh, I
for
like
parents
that.
and counselors and educators and educators trying to help this generation feel better. So it explains why so many of them are struggling with mental health problems and exactly what you as adults in their life can do about it.
Oh,
But
I
that's a free
love
download on my
it.
website.
I love it. So I'm gonna definitely get your links and put them in the video. And
Thank you.
so when you do your podcast, um, do you have people actually come into the Zoom room or they just call a number?
Yeah, no, right now I don't have a call-in feature.
Okay.
Um, so we schedule them ahead and they have the link. I record in Riverside, so they have the guest link in Riverside. They come on, but usually they're not on camera. There's just like a black box where they are, so they're just audio,
Okay.
because they're talking about their personal lives,
Yes.
and so sometimes they use a pseudonym, not always, but yeah, and it's like risky because I don't know them. I don't know what their experience is. I say, this is my topic. Anybody want some coaching on this? And people volunteer. So yeah, so
I
it's a little
like that.
exciting.
I
Yeah.
wanted to do something like X, but then I was like, no. But this is a good fit for me. But I love that. I love the fact that you have that platform because it also gives people a chance to have that moment where they can get some help at any given time. I mean, when you have it on, that's a
Yeah.
blessing. That's
Yeah.
not
I mean,
that's
they
unusual,
could,
right? It's you like
yeah.
the Fraser Crane.
Yeah. I love it. That's what I really want to do. But, and people could make comments and then I could respond to their comments as well on there if they watch it live. But, yeah, so maybe someday if it grows, if it keeps growing, I would have an actual call in. I may do it longer and just do live coaching right on there, because I love that format. I
I
also
like
thought
that.
I do like live supervision. I would like that too, I think.
I like that. That is amazing. I like what you're doing. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So let the audience know how they can get in touch with you.
Sure.
And
My main website is jodiaman.com, jodiaman.com. So you could get everywhere on there. You could get the books, you could get my show, you could binge some past episodes of my show where I have all these topics on relationships, mental health, anxiety, ADHD, um, and helping young people. So yeah, come on over and see what I got. I got so much stuff there. I also work with people. I also do coaching online. Um, so yeah, so I'm available.
that is awesome. I am so happy. I wish I had more time with you, but I don't. But because I know you
It's
have
been so great.
because I know you have your show to do tonight. But I am so
Yep.
grateful that you came on, and I'm so grateful to see what you're doing. And this is so nice so people can actually be able to contact you, and you'll be a great referral, a source of a great referral as well. So that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. But if you want to sign up to be a call-in guest, it's right on there. It's at jodiaman.com/live. You'll see it. If you come to my website, you'll
Okay,
see the navigation to anything. But there's just an application button and say, this is what I want you to help me with. You get
I
live free
love it.
coaching.
I love it. That is awesome. Somebody out here is doing that. That is amazing. So thank you so much for talking about attachment styles. I think they're very important when it comes to knowing, what behaviors you are actually showing up with in a relationship. And if you are showing up dismissive or avoidant,
They're probably not watching your show. Yeah.
I think that you're missing out on connection.
Yeah.
When you are like that, you really do hinder yourself from connecting with others, which is it may feel safe, but it's really not. And if you are anxious, get the help you need, because that's horrible, horrible place to be in
Yeah.
dealing with that. And so we just want to encourage listeners. We just want to encourage you to always, always take care of yourself and make sure that you get the help you need, because that's what a strength is asking for help. And that's why I have this platform, so that I can provide so many different avenues, not just through me, but through other people, where you can get the help you need. And we have some amazing people coming on, like Dr. Jodi and all the other ones, that truly are here to help you. And go on her website and get that free booklet, download it, and check out other books that she has. And thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Jodi. I am so grateful to have had you, and we are signing off.